Hey everybody and welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be walking you through 5 pros and 5 cons of the Lenovo Legion Go. So before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out the channel for new content. All right, so jumping in with the pros first. We'll say the first pro is the screen. It is massive, it is beautiful, and it has an incredible refresh rate that just sets a new standard in the gaming market. Now, the next pro is just really the controllers and how incredible they are. The fact that you have the ability to remove the controller, for example, if we were to remove the one on the right-hand side or the left, you have the ability to use them in a similar manner to the Joy-Cons for the Nintendo Switch. Now, if you don't know how to actually remove the controllers, there's a little notch on the back right here, and when you pull that notch towards you, or I guess I would say away from the device, you can pull down and out. Now, when you do that, you have a switch on the bottom, and you can actually use this as a mouse with the attachment. Now, I'm going to move into Pro 4, which is how this was planned out. So I like the general design, and there's a couple of pieces to this. First, we have our vent facing away from us, so we don't have all that hot air blowing in. It is a relatively quiet device, all things considered, but all of the little touches, such as the kickstand on the back that we can prop out. It's very stiff, so it can support the device at multiple angles while playing with it basically just in whatever way you want to use it. So the way that it's designed, I have average size hands and it fits in my palms and just feels good. The button layout makes sense for the most part. So I would say that would definitely be the fourth pro. And then covering the last one in general, I think that it's just the fact that this thing can run pretty much any game out there without any issues. So when it comes to customization, this is basically your gaming PC. You can do actual work on it. So when I say run anything, I don't just mean games. I mean, you can actually run work programs, like it comes with Microsoft Teams out of the box. So different things like that are kind of cool to see. Now let's jump into the cons, and I'm actually going to put a link in the description covering why I am getting rid of this device after using it for a day. So a couple of cons. First and foremost is going to be really just the actual experience, specifically software and how I don't think that it's there yet. So you have this by default with Lenovo Legion Go, or with this device, you have something called Legion Space, which is this program that you can jump into that has all of these different games. It starts off with recommending items that you don't have, so their first focus is to get you to buy stuff. Then you have to scroll down to get to your library and all of these other things, and this is not even my library. So I have to scroll down to get to my actual games first. So I don't love that. And I don't love the fact that when you boot into Windows 11, you start this launcher by default. So if Lenovo really wanted to push this as a hybrid of a gaming PC and a performance just PC in general, I don't think they would have you boot into a game launcher. So when you're booting into this game launcher and you go to the menu, there's really nothing in these menus that you can't already do in Windows 11. So it's almost like they decided to say, we don't want to take responsibility for developing this ecosystem like the Steam Deck and have operating system built on Linux or whatever the case may be. They said, you know what, we're going to give them Windows 11, say you guys have to customize everything yourself, and then we'll give you this launcher that's still going to require you to potentially open up other launchers to download games. So it's just not ideal, and even just setting up various settings can be kind of cumbersome. So for example, if I were to go through here and go to display, these are settings that are already in Windows 11. If I were to go to controller, you don't have the ability out of the box to adjust things like dead zones very easily for all programs in a universal layout from what I've seen, so that's a problem. So I just feel like this program itself is kind of useless. One cool thing it does give you is the ability to adjust the colors and things like that, but the fact that it forces you into this makes me feel like there should be more to this to update everything. So that's my first complaint. Second complaint is how much of a pain it can be to update everything just to get this running. I know that a lot of people will criticize people who mention any complaints about Windows 11 on this device and say, well, you should use Windows 11 more, you should kind of learn and understand it, but some people want to get these devices just to have a good gaming experience. For me personally, I've used Windows a ton, and it's not that I have an issue trying to learn the ins and outs, it's the fact that I was not able to turn this thing on, download a game, and start playing without any issues. I would have liked to have been able to download a random game and play on basic settings with default everything just to get excited about this device. Instead, I found myself spending a couple of hours downloading all of the games just to get started trying to play them, finding out I needed to go to various websites to update device drivers and then update recommended settings for VRAM and update all of these other things. So it felt like I wasn't able to open this thing out of the box and start enjoying it for almost an entire day. And by the time I get into these games, I find issues with dead zones and other things that some software can help with, but it's just a bit of a pain when if you don't want to customize anything, this device almost isn't for you at all. So I would say the second complaint overall is just how much of an issue it can be. It doesn't feel like the Windows 11 operating system works very well with this controller layout along with all of the different programs and games. It is still a quick device, but I've had a couple game crashes and a need to uninstall and reinstall a very large game already, which just doesn't make me feel great considering the gaming PC that I set up was much easier than this device. This device has no major upgradable components. You're not taking out a GPU and replacing it, so it should be easier to manage than a gaming PC where you can replace the parts, but it's not, in my opinion. So that's the second con. Third con overall is the battery life to size. This thing is utterly massive, but you're not going to expect more than 2 hours of battery life on average settings, in my opinion. From what I've seen, just downloading and running games, I'm getting around 2 hours, maybe a little bit more. And for a handheld, you're probably going to want more portability than that. That being said, for something that can run pretty much any game you throw at it, that's also expected. So it's kind of like a con that I would ignore if everything else was working as expected. Now, going to con number 4, which is the controller layout here. Specifically, one of the things that kind of got me into this device in general, which is the ability to use one of these controllers kind of like a mouse. So this piece comes with the device, and you can detach the controller by pulling the little button on the back and pulling down, and then you have the ability to push this in here and it kind of magnetizes, and then you have your own controller. So you'll see it's designed, from what I can see, to be used like this. And you can use it just like a normal controller. You have a button right here and everything rests pretty smoothly. But what I don't like about this is, first and foremost, depending on the size of your hand, you have all of these metal pieces kind of pushing into your palm. And also it just doesn't feel very natural. So you have a thumbstick and other buttons resting up against your hand here. And if you flipped it around, then you'd have to have your hand kind of backwards and it would just feel weird. What I would preferred is if they had some way to set up and make this adjustable. It doesn't even have to be adjustable in every axis, but it would have been nice if I could move it to this position, and this position, and then maybe go a notch to the left and a notch to the right to set, instead of just being stuck with this specific layout. It's not bad, but again, you can tell that this just doesn't feel like it's designed to be used like this when you compare to something like a Joy-Con from a Nintendo Switch, which I feel like it feels like it's much better for one-handed operation, though it is smaller. So I would say that is another con, and then I'll kind of wrap things up here. So the last major con that I guess I would say is just, I feel like although this device still is a truly incredible piece of equipment, I just feel like overall the design in some cases just doesn't really work for everybody. So I know that there are probably other layouts or configurations that you can get, but the fact that you're required to use the right controller for the mouse portion, the fact that it forces you with a single piece to use it a certain way, the fact that when I put this in my palm, I'm already pressing buttons accidentally because there's some on this side but not on this side. it just doesn't feel great from the design perspective, where if you're maybe left-handed, I don't know if they have a specific device or configuration for that. It just, again, it feels a bit cumbersome. The A button, for example, being so close to the joystick, where if I go up to the left, I'm practically pressing the A button. Your palm at sometimes resting on this mouse piece. It just feels like they could have spent a little bit more time kind of mapping things out to the general public because of how big this device is. So all in all, I think that it's an incredible device and maybe worth some people purchasing. But if you want a device that you can just turn on and really just immediately start using, this probably is not going to be the best device for you. But it may be one day when they've worked all of this out. Let me know your thoughts in the comment box below, and I'll see you all in the next video.